Hi, and thanks for joining me again on my channel. This is my monthly question and answer video that hopefully answers all the questions that you've submitted on my YouTube channel. It's really great that you've all left me some amazing questions this month, and I've got around 20 odd questions to answer that are important to you guys and hopefully that can help you grow your website. So let's get straight into this. So the first question we had today was from Marika, and that says, tips on writing content fast on your own. Well, the way I usually do it when I'm writing on my own is to research the article and lay it out with no content first, just to write. I usually write the title, a really good SEO title, and then I'll format the page with the intro. I'll get the intro done first, and then I'll always try and win the snippets. I'll do 2 or 3 sentences that really answer the question fast or give that reader the answer they're looking for. And then I go into the subheadings. So I'll then write all the H2 subheadings that I'm going to need within this piece of content to answer everything. So I'll research it, and then I'll write a subheading, then I'll go off and research it again and add another subheading. So basically what I end up with is kind of a template. So I'll have the heading, the intro, and then all my subheadings, and then I'll have a final conclusion at the bottom. And then I can go away and research each individual subheading. So each section will be done individually, and then when I'm happy, I'll save it to draft, and then I'll go off, research the next part of the article, the next subheading, write that, and again save that, and then when all that's done, then you can see that you got a full solid base article that's ready then to add links, images and videos, etc. So that's how I do it. That's the fastest way I've found of doing it. I'm not one of these that can sit and just write from top to bottom all in one go. I'll set it out as a template and fill the sections within that template until I'm ready to press publish. And the next question is from Money Savvy Daddy, and it says, "Hi Carl, I'd be interested in your views on a local but wide area tourist destination website, i.e. Dorset kind of size range, so a local area. Content would be the thing, like do I write things to do in that local town or village, eventually leading to more commercial affiliate content such as best cottages within this area, best friendly dog cottages, etc. So just wants my general views on this kind of niche. Well, yeah, that's exactly what I would do to actually rank for a certain area. So let's say you're trying to rank for best hotels in Bournemouth. Well, that's going to be really, really difficult to do. So I would narrow it down and break it into subsections, exactly like you just said then. So I'd go for best hotels in Bournemouth that are pet friendly, best hotels in Bournemouth that have free parking, you know, that kind of thing. Just break it down and go after as many long tail keywords around that topic that you can, and then maybe also consider doing one solid pillar post that you want to list and link all those smaller articles back to. So you end up with 30-40 articles all kind of around the same topic, which all lead back to one main article, and then hopefully that way you'll capture a lot of those smaller pieces of content. You get some good rankings for all of those, and then generally as a bunch they will add quite a lot of page authority to your main topic article. So the next question I've got is from Umar Farooq, and Umar says, if you keep on posting new content in the initial days of a new website, would Google take you out of the sandbox any sooner? Now this is a little bit of an open topic, is the sandbox. Everybody has their own opinions about it, so I'll just tell you kind of what I found. If you purchase a domain and leave it sitting there, and it's a brand new domain, it's never had any site built on it at all, and you just leave it sit there, then it doesn't really gain any authority. That can be sat there for years and years and years, and when you start writing content on it, it's only from that moment will it then start to gain its authority and come out of the sandbox. So what I always do, or I've started doing recently, is purchasing a domain, adding several blogs around that topic, that niche that I'm in, adding it to that domain, and then just letting it sit for 3 to 6 months. After that, you'll start to see 1 or 2 little clicks come through. So Google is now seeing that this website is around this certain niche and this certain category, and it's starting to, you know, keep an eye on you, and then you can hit it with a load of content right at the point where it's going to come out of that sandbox, and that way you're not investing a ton of money for 6 months until you see some traction. So in my eyes, it does take 5 to 6 months to actually come out of the Google sandbox. There are some sites that come out quicker. The quickest I've seen it, I have had one site that within 3 months started to get some decent traffic, and I mean, you know, 20-30 clicks a day, and that was only from about 15 or 20 articles. But certainly, in my opinion, it takes 5 to 6 months to properly come out of the Google sandbox, and then once you're properly out, every single article you add on there just starts to rank far quicker. So my suggestion would be, if your domain is brand new, put a couple of articles on it straight away, let it sit. I mean, if it's the only website you've got, start working on it straight away. Just keep publishing content, and the more content you put on it, you know, the sooner you'll see some results once it's out of the Google sandbox, quicker because you've already got the content on there. But that's my experience, and I've always found it's 5 to 6 months before I really see any traction whatsoever. And another question here from the Dad Gamer, very similar topic, says, "Hi Carl, I have a website that's a couple of years old. It was only set up as a hobby. I got about 10 posts on there, and it gets about 6 views a day. So if I started producing content using keyword research, how soon can I expect to see my post appearing in the SERP index or in the listings?" Well, because the website is actually a couple of years old, you've already got some content on there, I would expect to see it ranking pretty quick. You may have to manually index the post. So what I would do is write the post up, press publish, and then head over to Google Search Console and manually index the post, and basically tell Google, hey, the site is now back in action, I'm publishing new content, please take a look at it and rank it, rather than just posting it and then hope Google comes and crawls your website and finds it. It's just a quicker way of ensuring Google sees your content much quicker. But if it's a couple of years old and you've already had some content on there for quite some time, I would imagine you'd see your article, after hitting publish, manually indexing it, you should see it in the SERP rankings within, you know, I mean, it can be within hours, but certainly it should be within 24 hours for sure. May not be on page 1, but you'll certainly find it if you search on Google for that search term. So yeah, I certainly think it's going to help you with a website being a couple of years old. I will start now hammering content on it and go after it now. It's the best situation to be, an aged domain ready to go. So next question we've got is from Barry, and Barry asks, very similar to one of the earlier ones that I've answered. Hi, what is the exact process you go through from start to finish to write a good quality blog post quickly, i.e. how do you do the research and fill in the subheadings? Well, it's going to be very difficult, Barry, for me to answer that here without probably showing you on the computer. I am going to make more videos around content writing and how I do it. I possibly do it slightly different to some people, but the process basically is that once I know what topic I'm going to write, I set it out like I mentioned earlier with my heading, and I always get my intro done first, and then I will start just researching the subheadings. So if the topic was, let's say, best ballpoint pen, I would just type that exact same keyword into Google, see what articles are ranking, have a read through, see what subheadings they've got, start making a note on a piece of paper or in a note on my computer, and then I go to YouTube and I watch some YouTube videos and I get a feel for what is the best ballpoint pen, or what do you look for in the best ballpoint pen, and again take some ideas from that and then start putting them into the blog just as subheadings. So I end up with a main title, an intro, and then I end up with several subheadings. I'll then go into Google and research each individual subheading, because sometimes it gets really overwhelming if you try and do all of it at once. So I prefer to do it in single paragraphs and fill out each paragraph, each subheading, before I move on to my next H2 or H3 heading, and finally I end up with a complete article. So difficult to answer in a video, a full process, because you know I have no hard and set fast rule when I'm writing my blogs. I don't go, I do A, B, C, D. It just doesn't work like that. Depends on the topic, depends on the article. So my methods can actually change from article to article, to be honest. But yeah, hopefully I'll bring some videos out that'll show you a little bit more detail around that. And the next question is from Ashwin Joy. It's a really good question, this. If you have multiple websites under one name, so under your name, will it affect each, which is what Google uses as an authority basis? Also, what if the same writers write for you on different websites? Absolutely, it's a great question this. It could affect your authority if Google picks up that you're writing several websites and you're claiming to be an authority across all them websites and topics. So what it's better to do is, as you set up each website, to set up a Gmail email under a fictitious name. So make up a name, create a Gmail email for that person, set them up as if they're a real person, real Gmail account. You can also go to thispersondoesnotexist.com, I think it is, where it generates an image of a person, and I use one of these images, which is, it's a computer generated image, but it's amazing. You can't tell that it's not a person, and I use that image, connect that to a Gmail email address, and have that as your contact point. So have that writer set up as a separate person, because yes, it would, affect your authority if Google has seen you writing, first of all, you're a pet authoritative, then you're giving medical advice, then you're on a different website giving dating advice, then you're on a website for homeschooling. Google will know that you are not authority across all them categories. So it is better to write under different aliases for each website, definitely. And the next question is from Joe, and Joe says, hi Carl, how much content can we edit or update on an old blog post before it gets de-indexed? I've become a bit cautious seeing one of my posts fall off Google's front page and seemingly having to go through the ranking process again once it received a bit of a revamp. Difficult to say what like a percentage is on that. Whenever I revamp an old post, I never touch the URL. I do change the heading slightly. You can change a few words on that without having to worry about redirecting it or anything like that, because you haven't messed with the URL. And then the content, you can change quite a bit of the content. Like I said, I couldn't put a percentage figure on it, but I have changed probably 50% of the article, changed the heading, changed the date, so it's as if I've resubmitted it from that date, and then uploaded it, re-indexed it manually, and seen it jump from page 3 or 4 straight up to page 1. I don't think there's going to be any hard set and fast rule on this. You just have to play around with it. If your domain authority is pretty good, you might see better results quicker, and you might have to change less on each old post to update it, freshen it up, and re-index it. So play around with it, and don't mess with the URL, because then you're going to have to do redirects and things like that. And I would suggest just changing the odd paragraph or two, so maybe add 500 words or take 500 words out and add 500 words that updates it, freshens it, makes it more relevant, maybe answers the search query better, and then manually re-index it and check on the progress. And I think you'll be good to go. And the next question is from Justin, and Justin says, hello Carl, question, I bought my domain name with Google and thought it was a new domain. I recently discovered it's not, it's been used before. Should I be concerned? Also, it's put my site is 8 months old and still waiting to see some real traffic. 34 articles on there, 1,500 words to 2,000 words long, 8 months, and seeing very little traffic after 8 months. It is a little bit of a concern for me that, 8 months and you've got 34 articles on it and you've hardly seen any traffic. That is a little bit strange. I would use something like Wayback Machine and go have a look at what has been on that domain before, so it will show you any websites or any content that's been on that domain, and you can tell from looking at that whether it's spammy or whether it's bad. Check your backlinking profile, see if there's any really dodgy backlinks on there. See if you can dig into the history, because after 8 months you certainly should be seeing a bit of a traffic. I would have expected that slight hockey stick effect and the traffic should be coming in. 34 articles, 2,000 words after 8 months, it's a pretty decent amount of content. I would expect you should be getting 40, 50, 60 clicks, maybe even a lot more each day from that kind of content. I would have a dig around, see what that website's been used for, that domain's been used for, and if it doesn't look too good, then possibly think about changing the URL and changing your domain name before you get too heavily involved with adding more content. Another question here is from IHW. What is your process on hiring and managing writers? Hiring writers, I used to use Upwork, but I also found a few through iWriter, where I'd outsource content through iWriter, and then them writers tend to hunt you down and find where you are based, kind of what your website is, and then they'll reach out to you. So I found a couple through there. And then another one is Facebook groups. Go into Facebook groups and say, hey, anybody know any writers that's looking for some work? And you often find people say, yeah, I've got one and I'm not really using them at the minute. So you might get them that way. But otherwise, Upwork was the main place I used to go and find my writers. Managing the writers, you can use certain programs that organise your writers, software. You can use spreadsheets. Otherwise, just good old-fashioned notepad and pen, and contact them via email or Zoom. So I have a lot of messages with my writers every Monday. I have contact with them, and I dish out all my orders on a Monday. I pay all my bills for them on a Monday, and then I just keep a running total of what content they've got on a spreadsheet, when it was issued to them, when it's due back, when it was edited, when it was published, and then when it was paid. So I have a spreadsheet with all the separate columns, and it'll have the article title, suggested word count, the writer that it's gone to, the date it was sent, the date it's due back, the date it was edited and published, and the date it was paid. So I have a spreadsheet that controls it, and I keep it like that. I am trying more modern online methods at the minute, but the level that I'm at, do you know what? A simple spreadsheet is just fine to keep it. I've got 7 writers that I publish 50 to 60, sometimes 70 articles a month, and a simple spreadsheet at the minute is fine. I don't need to really pay for any apps or tools to manage that many writers. I'm finding it's just fine on the spreadsheet. And the next question is from Anthony T, and Anthony says, tips on tweaking old content that no one has mentioned before or often does. There's a lot of videos out there on tweaking old content, so I'm probably not going to tell you anything new. I tend to look within Google Analytics and see how much traffic each post has had in the last 30 days. And if it's below 100 views per month, I'll revamp the article. So I'll pull that article and I'll have a look where it sits in the SERP index, where it is on my tracking tool. So I use SERP Robot to track my articles and my keywords. I'll see what the performance is in there, if it's slipped, and if it's getting less than 100 visitors a day, I will revamp it. Now that might mean taking content off. I'm going through a process at the minute where I'm really shortening a lot of my articles, cutting out the fluff, cutting out the excess, and then some articles that I'll add some more relevant information. And then what I'll do is I'll up the date it was published, and I'll also possibly tweak the title. So if it's not been doing very good and it's been dropping off the rankings, it may need a tweak with the title. I don't mess with the URL, but I'll tweak the title, add or take off content, make it more relevant and up to date, change the date that it was published so it pops up to page right to the front of my homepage, and then I'll manually re-index it and then track the progress again through my keyword tracker. And usually that's enough to see a jump from page 2 or 3 up to page 1, hopefully, or certainly climbing up the ranks rather than it dropping down and down and down. But the best way to look is Google Analytics, search for the last 30 days, and anything under 100 visitors in a month is worth reconsidering whether you should revamp it or not. So over 100 visits a month, I'd probably leave it. It's only when it starts dropping further than that would I consider revamping it. And the next question is from Brendan, probably one of the best I've had. How can I resist checking my Google Analytics 30 or 40 times a day? Well, Brendan, if you find out how to do that, let me know, because I wish I'd never downloaded it. It's terrible on my phone. I'm checking it all the time. I must check it 7 times a day in live, look how many people's on. It's terrible. I can't find a way of controlling that. So You may be able to tell me if you find out, please do. And the next one is from Lisa, and Lisa says, what do you use for your mailing list? ConvertKit, MailChimp, and can I create a video on it? I can create a video on it when I do it, because I don't actually build many lists at all. I am looking at ConvertKit because I've been recommended that, and I really do want to start creating a mailing list, but I want to do it correctly. So there's no point just gathering emails into one account. You really need to separate it and split it into subcategories. So if it's a general pet website, there's no point putting a dog owner in a mailing list with a pet fish owner, because when I send emails out or campaigns out to them, you know, if I send here's a discount code on fish food to a dog owner, it's just not going to go anywhere. They're just going to unsubscribe. So if you're going to do a mailing list, I suggest you do it correctly, properly from day one. Split it down into the right categories so that you can target your campaigns to the right people. I believe that's the only way an emailing campaign will be successful, unless it's such a broad topic that, you know, it doesn't matter what you send out to them, they're all going to like it. But I really don't know any niches that's like that. But I certainly suggest that if you're going to do it correctly using a nice tool like ConvertKit that can really separate the email addresses into the relevant categories. And I think you'll find you'll have far more success with that. And it is something I'm going to do, and I will create some videos on it when I've tested it out and learned a good way of doing it myself. And the next one is from Care About Cats. How do you think a pet niche would work? For example, dogs and cats. Also, if I focus on long tail keyword blogs, where should I get the information from? Well, it depends if you're going to write the blogs yourself or whether you're going to outsource it. If you can outsource it, you don't need to worry where they get the information from. They will do all the work for you. But yes, cats and dogs niche is still relevant. It is still one of the most searched topics there are. There's still a ton of keywords out that you can rank. I'm keeping my eye at the moment on a couple of new pet websites that's come out, and I had this same thought. Can they bring out another 3 big pet websites and do well? And all 3 are now just going up and rocketing. You know, these pet websites have only been out for 6-7 months, and they're already getting 40,000-50,000 search volume a month. So it is still an open market. I don't know how or when it would end, or how many pet blogs it will take to saturate the topic, but it's still certainly a viable topic. And if you're really knowledgeable about a certain cat or a certain dog, then yeah, go for it. It's still a good topic, especially for ad revenue. It's not a big earner on affiliate commissions. There are some pet products. I mean, if you look at my video I brought out about pet affiliate markets, the best pet affiliate markets to go after, there is still some good products out there, but traffic and display ads is probably where you're going to earn the bulk of your money from a pet website. And the next question is from Ankit Singh, and the question is, if we migrate a website from one hosting to another, will it automatically migrate the website to WordPress? Or if not, what is the best plugin for it? It won't automatically migrate your website across. You will have to move the files across, and I've only done it twice. The first time I used was from HostGator to SiteGround. SiteGround has their own tool that you can use to migrate it across, and the second one was a plugin that I used, and I think it's called All-in-One WordPress Migration, and that's a plugin that's very easy to use. You install that into the website, and it's a very simple process for transferring your website across. But yeah, it won't automatically do it. Whichever hosting company you're going to go to, you're going to have to transfer your files and your website over to that hosting. And the last question we've got is from Rob Marsden. And Rob says, what traffic numbers do you benchmark a new website against to feel or know how it's doing in the early days? I know that Income School have their Project 24 timeline. Do you use it, or do you use something else? I used to use their timeline, but I found it a little bit ambitious. I'm at the process now where if by month 3 or 4 I'm getting a few clicks a day, 3 or 4 clicks a day, I'm fine with that. At a month 4 or 5, I start to track the keywords. So I'll go onto Search Robot, and as I publish each article, get added into that, and I'll start keeping an eye on that and hoping the good numbers are green, so I know it's climbing. I also start doing a site-wide search, so site : and then your website name, and see if the articles are starting to appear in SERP Index. but certainly it's going to depend on how many blog contents you add. If you're just adding 5 or 6 and leaving it 5 months, it's going to be difficult to get a feel for the success. But if you're writing, 5 articles a week, then certainly by month 3 and 4, you should have a feel for how it's doing. You should by then be getting 20, 30 clicks a day. And then by month sort of 5, 6, I would expect you to be in the kind of hundreds. You should be seeing 100, 150 visitors a day. And that's a good sign. I've got a website now that's 6 months old and it's got around 80 or 90 articles on it. And I'm seeing about 150 visitors a day. That's good enough for me. That's a sign that it is steadily growing. And then if you look at your Google Analytics, you can see that your graph is steadily just going. And as soon as I start to see it peaking up that little bit, then I know it's going to be fine. It's going to be doing okay. You can look at your Google Search Console and make sure all your articles are indexing. So every time you publish an article, don't trust Google to crawl it and find it. Manually index it yourself and keep an eye on it that way. But yeah, month 3 or 4, if you're getting 5 or 6 clicks a day, you're doing good. Month 5 and 6, I would expect you to be in the 10s and 20s and 30s a day. And then month kind of 5, 6, 7, you should be up in the hundreds. And if you're hitting those numbers, relax, you're doing well, and that's the time to start hammering it with content. So there you go, quite a few questions. I think there's 20 odd questions on there. It is very difficult to answer them all in depth because I don't want this video to be like an hour long. I will try and pull ideas out of these questions and maybe make them into the video. So the question on how to write and research content, I will be doing more videos on that. So I'll get them sort of videos out to you in more in depth. And hopefully showing you visually is going to be better than explaining through a question. I hope I didn't miss anybody's questions out on here. If I do, I'm really sorry. Please submit it in the next months and I'll hopefully get around to it then. But for now, I hope you like that. I hope it's interesting and helpful. And if you liked it, please, if you're new to the channel, do subscribe. Please comment below. It really helps me out, helps grow the channel, and it helps me get more content out that's helping you guys grow your website. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you in the next video.